Hello, everyone. Welcome to our third and final Learning Difference Support Group Zoom meeting for the school year. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, thank you for joining us. For those of you who've been to some of our previous meetings, we're thinking about putting together a little get-together this summer in person in a park maybe. So stay close to your email and our support group Google Doc for more information about that. We maintain a Google Doc with resources and information about learning differences and our different speakers and books and articles and podcasts and all that good stuff. And if you don't have a link to that resource page handy, I will send it to the group right now.
Okay, and now on to our scheduled program. Today, we are very excited to introduce our guest speaker, Camille Trou. Some of you may know Camille from her time at EB. She's now back in France, but continues to work with some families in the US. Camille has over 10 years of experience in therapeutic sessions with dyslexia, dysgraphia, and other neurodiverse diagnoses. For the past 5 years, Camille has been conducting workshops to help parents and teachers better detect and understand these learning disabilities. Camille also worked as our beloved learning specialist at EB and in her own private practice in the San Francisco Bay Area until this past year. Today, Camille will provide an overview with the different types of dyslexia and associated difficulties, while also speaking about misconceptions we have about bilingualism and learning differences. A self-described optimist by nature, Camille is passionate to change your neurotypical point of view into a neurodiverse point of view. And with that, we'd like to welcome Camille Trou.
Thank you so much. Hi everyone, happy to see some familiar faces again. So I will try to make my English clear. If you do have questions, just don't hesitate to stop me if I'm not clear enough. As you know, we have 1 hour together, so it's not a lot of time. So I had to make choices and to choose what I'm speaking of today. So I cannot be as, I cannot dive deep as I would like, but at least you will have an overview of what is dyslexia and the different type of dyslexia. So to start, I would like to have a quick look on a common misconception we can have about dyslexia. And I put this quote from Einstein: "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid." So for me, and with the experience I have, it's like the most misconception we have about dyslexia, thinking that because some people cannot read and write well, they are less smart. So I stop you right now. Having dyslexia doesn't mean you are less smart. You might even be smarter, actually. So, and we will see why. We can, I am the one with, is it working? Let's see, yes, it's working. So what we will do today is talking about neurodiversity, of course, a little bit of it. We will see the different types of dyslexia. There is 3 main types of dyslexia, and we will see which difficulties associated with this type of dyslexia. I will try to explain you why bilingualism is actually a good thing when you have dyslexia. And then I will try to change your neurotypical point of view into a neurodiverse point of view. And of course, I will answer the question you may have. Okay, so to start, I have here a short analogy to a map. So I put the first one, so I choose France, sorry for that. The first one shows highways. The second one, the middle one, is secondary roads and highways. And the last one is basically all the roads with the smallest one. What my point is with this map is to show you that brain and its connections are like a map. And some brains will use highways to process the information, while other brain will use secondary roads or small roads to process the same information. What does it mean? It means that some of us will be faster than others, but at the end, you can go from one point to another, whatever the road you used. So that being said, neurodiverse brains will use probably secondary roads, but it's not a big deal as they can learn through their own paths. So that is for me the best analogy we can do to understand what is neurodiversity. So a quick overview of neurodiversity. It's a concept first brought by Judy Singer in the late 90s. And it's actually something that refers to the brain construction and how it may vary from one to another people. And with this approach, we consider that the difference we have in terms of brain activity is only differences and not deficits. And that's something very important because for years, we were used to see those differences as deficits, and it can have like a big impact on self-esteem for families, kids, of course, but parents as well. So neurodiversity is a concept that think all learners are naturally diverse learners. And as a result, you don't have any one program fits all. You have to adapt because we all learn differently. And I like to say that neurodiversity is the reason why the world counts geniuses, artists, musicians, and extraordinary people. So as a teacher, as parents, you will meet some extraordinary people, and it's our biggest role is to accompany them to make their life a success. So I wanted to remind you that we have famous people with dyslexia, and having dyslexia doesn't mean you cannot succeed. So we have artists like I put Whoopi Goldberg, Steven Spielberg. We also have scientists. So you can see Einstein. There is Leonardo da Vinci as well. Even Galilei was a dyslexic person. I put as well famous writer in France, Gustave Flaubert. So you can have dyslexia and dysorthographia and being like a genius writer. And I put also with Winston Churchill, so even politicians. So some of them are left-handed and some of them are left-handed and dyslexic. It's not a big deal. So now the types of dyslexia. So usually in the books, you can find 3 main types of dyslexia and several subtypes. So today I will speak about the 3 main types because it's the most common classification. So the different types of dyslexia have been made to allow people to better understand different kinds of struggles with reading. And as of today, we know that the dyslexia is has genetics has a role to play in dyslexic people, which means dyslexia run in the families. So usually when you have a patient and you ask question, it's common that families are telling you, okay, my grandfather was dyslexic, or he had difficulties with reading, or my cousin has difficulties with the writing part. So it's very common. And it's not, most of the time, it's not like direct line. It can be like a cousin or uncle, and it's not usually necessarily dad, mom, grandparents. So as I said earlier, the brain structure is organized differently when you have dyslexia, which means there are no two people with a dyslexia exactly alike. And as it's important to have this in mind, because as a teacher or as a parent, you will do different stuff for your child or children if they are dyslexic, and something can be very helpful with one and absolutely not helpful with another one. So that's why it's hard sometimes to find the good path to help them, and you have to try several stuff, several like helps to find the one who is fitting well. And also I wanted to add something. Dyslexia can be associated with other neurodiverse conditions such as ADHD, dyspraxia, gifted, and it's actually very common to have dyslexia plus something else. And so Americans have like a very beautiful way to saying it. They said, for example, kids are twice gifted because they are gifted and they have dyslexia, or they have dyslexia and they have also ADHD. And I like this sentence very much because it's like seeing the beauty part of it instead of the hardest part. So now the different types of dyslexia. The first one, we call it the phonological dyslexia. It's the most common dyslexia. About 65% of people with dyslexia have this one. So basically, it's a hard time to breaking words into songs. So sounding out words is hard. So with this dyslexia, phonological awareness is complicated, and you can see that very early, like in kindergarten, even before sometimes, the children might have some difficulties with breaking the words into syllables and sounds. So with that, matching sounds and written symbols is very complicated. That's why they also have some difficulties with the writing part as well. And so basically in phonological dyslexia, the reading and the writing for the regular words is difficult. So it will be easier for those persons to read by heart, sight words, in other words, than reading regular words. The other one is called Surface Dyslexia or visual dyslexia. This one is about 35% of dyslexia, so it's a little bit less common. And in this one, people can sounding out words, so the phonological skills are better preserved. They can read and write regular words as well. Doesn't mean they can do it every time correctly, but it's better, it's easier for them. But they do have difficulty to recognize new words by sight. In other words, sight words are highly complicated to read and memorize, and it will impact as well the reading fluency. And the last one is called mixed dyslexia. It's a combo of the two previous ones. So they do have phonological and surface deficits. It's about 5% of dyslexia. And in this one, the two strategies of reading and writing are a struggle. They will have difficulties with phonological awareness and the sounding part of the words, and they will have as well sight words struggle. But fortunately, there is a frequency effect, which means they can better read and write the words that are seen very often. And this is something we will use very much for the helping. We will use the repetition, like repeat and repeat and repeat again, because the most they will see words, the most easy it will be for them. So usually dyslexia is associated with other difficulties, and you might have heard about rapid naming deficit. So rapid naming deficit is when you ask people to find a name of animals, for example, or name starting with the letter F, and they are less fast than pseudo-normotypical people to find those words. Processing speed is the pace at which you take information, then process it and respond to it. Those information can be visual, auditory, even kinesthetic. They do have also some issues with working memory. So you know the working memory, it's the ability to hold the information temporarily and then to process it. And then you might have heard about executive functions. Those are 8, and they are very useful to learn new information. So in the executive functioning, we have the working memory, but we also have the attention, which is the ability to focus. We also have the organization, the planification of something to do, the flexible thinking, the task initiation, the self-monitoring, and the impulse control. So those executive functioning are very, very important. We need them all the time to learn, and they are very important to learn and have an impact, as well as the difficulties with reading and writing. So when you assess a kid, it's very important to, of course, have a look on the reading and writing part, but have a look as well on this executive functioning, because you won't help them the same way if those executive functioning are not functioning well. All right, I would like now to speak a little bit about dyslexia and bilingualism. And so to me, it's absolutely not incompatible. It's actually the opposite, quite the opposite. So as I told you, dyslexia is a neurodiverse condition, which means the brain works differently. Works differently doesn't mean the brain is working badly or wrongly. Bilingualism is an ability to speak and or read and write in 2 different languages. I just would like you to pay attention to these and or words, because it's very important. You can be a bilingual person only if you speak another language. No need to read and write it, right? And that's a difference very important, because you can have dyslexia and speak 2, 3, 4 languages without any difficulties. So that's something you have to keep in mind. Like mastering languages, like in the speech part and in the reading and writing part, is 2 different stuff. So now speaking 2 or more languages allows the brain to overstimulate some areas, such as language areas. Because you speak 2 languages, you overstimulate those areas, and it will actually help with sound discrimination, phonological skills, and verbal memory. And if you remember well, I was just saying that in phonological dyslexia, they do have some difficulties with sound discrimination and phonological skills. So if you do have the opportunity to try to learn another language, it will actually help you with something that is actually difficult for you. The executive functions area is also something that you overstimulate when you have 2 languages or more. It helps with flexibility. Why? Because when you are speaking 2 languages, you have to be very attentive and focus to just inhibit one language to speak the other one, and vice versa. And then the mathematics and reasoning area are as well very overstimulated because they are as well in the frontal part of the brain, which is the area of the language areas. So they said that the reasoning is actually better in bilingual kids. And that's something important because it's actually helping for planification, organization, even flexible thinking. So to me, having kids with dyslexia in a bilingual environment is actually an extra help for them with their neurodiverse condition. All right. So I wanted, so this is something I would like to be very chatty. We are used to have a neurotypical point of view, which is, in my opinion, a vicious circle. Why? Because we are seeing those difficulties as, most of the time, something kind of an impairment, something that will block, that will stop our kids to learn. And this is something, in my opinion, very reductive. So having this neurotypical point of view will be, for example, to think, okay, my dyslexic child won't be successful or is not talented. It could be as well, my dyslexic child won't be able to read and write correctly, will never be autonomous. Or even my dyslexic child won't be accepted in any good school, any good university. It could be as well, my dyslexic child won't be a happy learner nor a happy person. And so those statements, I didn't take it from my head. This is sentences I heard over the years from different families because they were so shocked about the diagnosis. They cannot process the information, and they were very they needed help, in other words. So if I'm doing my job well, I will of course help the child, but I will also help the parents to change this neurotypical point of view into a neurodiverse point of view, which is, for me, the only way to have a successful relationship with your patient and with the family of your patient. So to me, this neurodiverse point of view is actually a sparkle circle. Why? Because you change statements. And with this point of view, you can say, for example, okay, my child is talented, but not the way I am, and it's gonna be fine. You can also try to say, my child will find other way to get informed, to access cultural learning, and will even think about solutions I'd never thought of. So we can see now, many kids, they use videos, they use TED Talk, they use many other stuff to learn. And it's okay, we don't need only books to get some information. My child will follow their own path at their own rhythms. That's something I want to dive a little deeper, because we are living in a world where everything is very speed, and those kids need time. So let's just try to stay calm, stay quiet, and accompany them slowly at their rhythms, because they will show you that they are very capable. And your dyslexic kid can be even an autodidact, which is, in my opinion, a super valuable skill nowadays. And finally, my child is a happy learner, very bright learner, and has talents I don't have. And if you keep that in your mind, you will see the sparkle circle instead of the grayish circle that I had before, which is very narrow to me. So if I want you to leave today with something in your mind, just keep that sparkled circle in your mind, because over the year I learned tons of stuff from them that I don't even think of before, and they are very valuable person with a lot of precious ideas that just need to flourish. So to me, the better hand to this short presentation was to find a quote from someone who has dyslexia. And I choose this one from Whoopi Goldberg, and she said, the advantage is that my brain sees and puts information in my head differently, more interestingly than if I saw everyone else. And I think it's a good happy hand to this small talk we had together. So I am now free for questions, but before that, I want give you some bibliography here. So there is a ton of books about it, but I put here the one I like the most. So if you don't know them, I encourage you to learn them and read them, because they are really good. I put also some websites that are very useful. And you have as well, I believe, I put the documentary. There is a movie, Every Child is Special. It's an Indian movie, and I recommend you to watch it. It's a really good one. So I'm now free for your question, if you have some. So I keep it short because I like the question, and the funny part of it is to talk with you. I hope my English was fine. I might have stuttered a little bit. I'm sorry for that. But now if you have any question, I'm free for that.
Yeah, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask Camille, just drop them in the chat and we'll go through them in order as they're coming in.
Oh, and Carla, if I can of course answer question now, but if you need more specific question, I'll be happy to write an email after. It's not a problem. I have time. I won't do it right now for sure, but I can do it after without any problem.
Great. Thank you, Camille. And also your email is also provided in the
yeah, you have it just here.
So if anybody has any more prolonged, or specific questions that they would like to ask, then they're happy to reach out to you. All right, so we already have a couple of questions to come in. So the first one is, do you have any resources in French that you would also recommend?
Like books, research, website. I do have a lot of, I didn't put any because I was thinking most of the people were American, but I can share, for sure some. So if just send me an email and I will send it. It's better than, because I don't have all the info in my head right now, but I do have a bunch in French for sure.
So Camille, maybe you can then send them, email them to me, and then I can add them to
okay.
resource pages, our folder.
Okay, I just have to I'm writing as well so that I don't forget. Okay.
And then let me know when you're ready for the next question.
Yeah, I am
Okay.
ready. Double tasking might be fine.
So the next question is, do teachers at EB undergo training about dyslexia and dysgraphia?
Yeah, so they should, and I did some last year, so at least they did have mine, but I believe, yeah, they do have some.
There is also some comments coming in, saying the presentation is amazing, that they miss you. So I wanted to make sure to put that in too.
Thank you. I miss all of you. Actually, I don't see all the faces. Unfortunately, I'm trying to see if I can. I see Elodie. Okay, I see some of you. Yeah. Hi, everybody.
So the next question would be, for reading and writing, there are many methods to bring the kids back on track with their peers as far as capabilities are concerned. Is there anything similar for mathematics?
There is some similar stuff in mathematics, but so mathematics, you have to see someone who is very into it, like someone specialized, because it's tricky part and you have to find a good person. So I'm not sure if the answer is correct, but I am not trained enough in mathematics to answer correctly the question, I believe. But there is training in mathematics for sure. You have to look at for that. I can try. Do you need any info in French or English?
I can unmute if this is a back and forth,
Yep.
if that's not intruding or if that's appropriate.
No, you're fine. That was your question. So if you want to clarify that one.
Okay, thank you. Camille, first, beautiful talk. Thank you. And it's good to see you again. Alex speaking here. I don't know if you can see through
I recognize your voice.
Wonderful. Either languages is fine. It was just more a general question whether, like just for reading, writing, there's all these different methods with goals. So just either language is fine. English is probably preferable, but either way.
Yeah, so you have some for mathematics for sure. I can look at it if you want and send you some recommendation if you need. But yeah, again, you have to find the good person.
Thank you.
So the next question would be to maybe explain a little bit or clarify a little bit more regarding the surface dyslexia, and especially compared to the phonodyslexia.
Okay, so the surface dyslexia is, so in this dyslexia, basically, they have a hard time with sight words, which means they cannot memorize the writing part of the words, and also how you read it, right? So which means when those kids with surface dyslexia will write or will read, they so I have example in French, but in French we do have this word femme, which is spelling F-E-M-M-E, and so the spelling is with a E, and you said with a A in French. So it's not the same. And those people this dyslexia will have difficulties to remember that. So they will, for example, write it F-A-M-E because they can hear femme and they don't know how to find the correct orthographic image in their brain. So that's for the writing part. And now for the reading part, if you take a sight words, we can say oignon in French, they will read oignon because it's like that. When you see the writing part, it's the spelling part is O-I-G-N-O-N. And so they will like read it as it is writed. Is it clearer? I don't have any word in English in my mind to answer the question, but basically all the sight words in English will be complicated for them, which is actually very complicated because in English you have 40% of sight words. So it's an opaque language. So when you have surface dyslexia, English is harder than French.
Right. Thank you, Camille. I think that was clear. Thank you. The next question was, can you let us know a little bit more about dysgraphia?
So, so I believe dysgraphia in English has nothing to do with the orthograph, right? It's is it, you have to correct me if I'm wrong, but is it with the writing part and how you spell it, or is it like the motricity part?
I believe it's both.
Okay, because dysgraphia in French is only the motricity part. That's why I'm asking, and I want to make sure I don't like misunderstood. So for the motricity part, the issues can be the difficulty to put together how to write the letter and associate it with the sound and the visual part of the letters. So this is the most common difficulty. If you just like avoid motricity, like fine motor skills. Then dysgraphia, if it's regarding the orthographic part of it, it's basically the same difficulties. So when you have like a phonological dyslexia, you might have a dysgraphia associated, and you will have the same difficulty with like sounding out the word, and so you will miss letters when you will write. You will miss even syllables. You will have hard time with fake words because it's something that is not in your brain. So those typical errors is when you have like in books, the name of the characters, the name of the town, in history and geography, the dates are complicated as well. So you will have this kind of difficulties when you write. In the visual dyslexia or the surface dyslexia, it will be the opposite. You will have difficulties with sight words. So you don't remember how to spell them, and you sometimes put letters that are not in, or you miss, you add letters. So you don't have the correct photo of photography of the spelling of the word. And so with surface dyslexia, what you can see sometimes is very like sometimes the kid will be able to write it well, and you say, yes, he knows how to spell that word. Yes, it's a win. And then 10 minutes after, you will have the same word written differently. So it's because sometimes the brain, like, as I said earlier, sometimes the brain is okay, the connection works, and you can take the highways, and sometimes you just like take small road and you don't have all the info, or you have the info but slower.
So the next question, thank you, Camille, is how should the academic goals of a dyslexic child compare to a non-dyslexic child? So as they progress through the grades, all the way through college, up to college, should they be matching up? Should they have the same knowledge as a non-dyslexic child?
So they at some point they will have the same knowledge. So the question is not about the knowledge, it's about how to obtain this knowledge. And if you want them to obtain the knowledge by using classic method, you won't be a winner. If you use different ways to have this knowledge, you will have winners for sure.
So there was the next, there's actually two questions that are very similar, and they approach it like, how do you promote confidence in children who are dyslexic and maybe might be seeing that, you know, their peers might be doing better or being faster than they are, or some tasks being easier for them. And, you know, with some children, then, you know, how this impacts their self-confidence and their self-esteem, and how do we keep in, you know, encouraging them, praising them, you know, with all the effort that they're having to put in.
So first, I think neurodiversity should be almost something that we learn at school. It could be like mathematics or French or whatever, like a own, how do you say that? Matière, une matière. Help me.
Another subject matter.
Yeah. It could be that first. Then I believe that every single year we should like make presentation about differences and make those kids participate and explain why their brain are just like different, and that something difficult for them is actually easy for us, but the opposite is true as well. Something very difficult for us can be so easy for them. So promote what is easy for them.
Camille, someone asked if maybe you could stop sharing your screen so that maybe, you know, everyone can see each other and have a more familiar conversation.
Sure, I can do that. Is it working? Yeah.
Yes, thank you. The next question is, if a child needs specialized instruction, such as an Orton Gillingham, sorry if I pronounce this incorrectly, based program for dyslexia, should this be done in both English and French?
So it should be first done in the main language, which means the language where the kid is the most confident with. But as you have to know, when you do a training in one language, there is transfer in the other languages. So the best approach is, of course, to do it in the two languages. But if you do it in one language, you have to choose the one where the child is the most confident.
All right.
And then, just sorry, Carla. And then if the two languages are like kind of equal, just keep in mind that English is harder when you have like a visual dyslexia, because there are more, there are 40% of sight words in English and only 7% in French.
Thank you, Camille. The other question is, will dyslexic children learn to spell correctly eventually with specialized help? Is it possible that it may never happen even after many years of learning, practicing, and reading?
It may be possible that they never be able to do it, but what we will try to do as a helper is to make them autonomous. So, and by saying that, I mean that they can be read by any one of us. So you can read anything if it's phonetically correct. So that's our main goal. But honestly, now with all the help we can have with the computer and everything, it's not that hard that it was before.
The last one is not so much of a question. I think it's more of a comment. And then if you can maybe elaborate a little bit on it, just is that the essential thing is that these kids are not seen as behavior problems. And for example, if a child is asking to leave the classroom a lot, we should ask ourselves why, instead of concluding that they're not interested in learning.
So we need actually to ask ourselves those two questions: why, and are they interested in those knowledge? So what you can do to avoid that is making clear at the very beginning of the lesson what you will do. So put on the screen what you will do today, what are the goals of that learning, and what they should remain after those hours of learning. So yeah, the explicit pedagogy, of course. Thank you, Sébastien. If you put those stuff on your board, you have a better chance to keep them attract to your lesson. But of course, if they still need to go outside, you can always have like a tacit accord with them, like saying, okay, you have 3 cards today to use anytime you want to go outside, but after those 3 cards, that's it.
All right, thank you, Camille. I think that was the last question. I mean, there's a lot of thank yous for sure, but
thank you.
But I'm not sure if anyone has any additional questions.
I do have one additional comment, because I can now have a comparison between France and US, and believe me, you are in very good hand in school in the US, because most of the teachers are very aware of what is neurodiversity, and believe me, it's not like that in French. We are way, way behind in France, unfortunately.
So we still have one more, and that one is, so something really nice EB teachers did is point out that specific neurodiverse conditions can lead to being better at certain things. And they gave, for example, their son came back home saying that the world champion at a specific game was ADHD, and that it helped him achieve excellence. Is there things a dyslexic child is amazing at?
They do have a lot of creativity. I don't know if you were there when I put the famous people with dyslexia at the very beginning, but actually artists, like like movies, artists of movies, they are very good at. But even writers, we have genius writers that are dyslexic. It's not incompatible. So you can be very talented even if you have dyslexia. You just have to flourish and have people around you that help you flourish.
And then we have a couple of other references, like Elodie shared, the author of Dogma has
Dogman, the 3rd grade, they love this book, Dogman, and inside there is a robot, and his name is ATD or something, because it's linked to ADHD, and he hated to write when he was little because he has dyslexia, and now he's a very famous author, and kids in 3rd grade, they love him because they can relate, I think, to him also.
Yeah. And so I know better in French for these books, but there is like a bunch of books how to explain ADHD for kids, how to explain dyslexia for kids. So I'm sure you have the equivalent in English for sure. I know them very well in French, but I can do some research if you wish to give you some of them in English. Elodie, you might have some in your mind as well. So yeah,
we could compile together.
Yeah.
Actually, Sonia Sotomayor, one of the Supreme Court justices, she actually wrote a book, and it's not just about neurodiversity, but also about physical challenges. And she wrote about her own experience dealing with diabetes and other things. So there are a lot of really inspiring books for kids, from very famous people who might have been, struggling or dealing with the similar situations as they have. So there's a lot of really good resources out there. There's also the book Fish in a Tree. I think one of the parents said, A Fish in a Tree was very inspiring for their children. And then we have a couple more comments. It's presented.
I just, I saw that one, Alexandre. It's already shared, so I believe you can have it for sure. Not a problem. And again, just keep in mind it was a short one, so I had to make some choices.
And I think Arthur also had being able to say if you feel that presenting written words in form of a poster in a child's room is beneficial. So having exposure, visual exposure.
So it can be if the kids is not like very doesn't have any attention deficit or attention like difficulties, because they can be overwhelmed with too many information. What I like most is flashcards, because you have it and then you can remove it. But if you do that, the posters and everything, you have to work with lists. So again, in French or in English, you have to choose every word that are starting with WH, for example, and like so that you can the kid can relate and make some comments and same deduction. That's important. So in French, you can like regroup words that are ending with EAU to make them try to remember the correct spelling of those words. So that's something important. And keep in mind as well that it's not the amount that you are doing, it's the quality of what you are doing. So it's better always to do little by little than too much in one shot.
Thank you.
I think that's it. LD just shared a great resources that was from Neurodiversity Celebration Week this year.
Yeah, we show it to the third grade, and that house they have their reference. So there is a lot of resources for teacher, but also for family, parents, and kids. And there is very nice video on it.
And I wanted to add something about like the written words that I just like came out to me. The orthographic mapping is something that is very useful as well. Sorry. So it's basically having the 3 keys of orthograph in your mind. So the written word, and then how you sound it, and then the image of the word. So if I say fish, for example, you have fish, then you have fish, and then you have the image of the fish, and that's a good way to remember how to refer to a word, like the visual part and then the written part.
Okay, I think, is that everything? Did everyone have their questions answered? Okay, well, Camille,
again, just I wish I could speak as well in English that I do in French. So if it was not clear enough, just don't hesitate, please, to reach out by email. It will be easier for me for sure.
Camille, thank you so much. This was so beautiful. And I think I just appreciate your positivity. I loved your sparkle circle. And I think, as the parent of a child with a sort of neurodiverse diagnosis, it can be really overwhelming sometimes. And just,
it is, but honestly, I do think that they will at some point run the world. So just don't be.
Well, it's so wonderful just to have positive examples and people. And so just thank you. This was so beautiful. We appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time as well. And it was nice seeing all of you and speaking a bit in English. I was happy to share that with you. Please don't hesitate. I'll be happy to help any one of you. It will be my pleasure.
Thank you. And then we'll have this recording. This is being recorded, so we'll send it out to the community. If you have friends or anybody you'd like to share it with who didn't make it, please feel free to share it. And we will see you all soon. So thank you for coming to our third and final presentation. Have a wonderful week, everyone.
Thank
you
you.
for
Bye.
organizing it, Sarah.
Thank
too.
you,
Oh
Sarah.
gosh,
Bye.
my pleasure.
It's great. Really helpful. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.